So as we saw that we can define the naming convention here for a particular legal entity. You can define a legal naming convention. So for example, I am defining preferred name, and this is the naming convention I am defining it. I can define the naming format as preferred name first, and then the second is, for example, is the last name, and I can save this, and I can choose this naming convention here, preferred name. Okay, and I can save this. So whenever you are searching for this legal entity, the preferred name will appear and the last name will appear. I am not selecting this because in this instance preferred names are not maintained, so I am not selecting any naming convention as of now. So this is how. So we were discussing about from where this particular field is coming. So since it is coming at the last, and you can see this is a one-to-one, so this is probably coming from an association. So from where this is coming, because we have not seen this here. If you see here in the association, we saw to legal entity USA. Similarly, there is another association which is defined cust to name geo name format, and this is a valid when association, and from where this is being captured here. So if I define, and this is editable here, so that's why you are able to make it editable. If I want to make it disable this field, I will simply go here, make correction, and either I will delete this association or I can just say not visible. We'll say not visible. For now, I will save this record. And I will go to manage data. I will refresh this, and you can see this field is now not available. Okay, so this is how you will define this uh, fields. Okay, now let us look at some more examples like business unit. So I will go to business unit, configure object definition. So there is the same things which are maintained for business unit as well. There is no screen which is associated with it. Then in the fields, if you see effective start date is one field, then MDF fields, then name, description, effective status, effective end date, head of unit is the other fields which are maintained. So let's open the other window, and let's search for business unit. So if you see this one, it says effective start date. Then there are some MDF system generated fields. Then external code name description, status and head of unit, status, effective status and head of unit. Why effective end date is not coming? So effective end date is not a visible field here. That's why it is not coming. Then in the associations, this is a custom association which is defined. So I have defined this association. So this is created like a custom association to legal entity, one to many. So there can be multiple business units attached to a legal entity. So multiple legal entities can be attached to a one business unit. For example, here in this case, if you select this, and you can attach 1710, for example. So there are multiple legal entities you can attach to a single business unit. That's why it is defined one to many relationship with legal entity. And then it is a valid when association. We will select valid when for the other objects, and if it is not if it is a parent object, it is a child object for a parent object, then you will always select the composite relationship here. So this is how the relationships are defined, and you can select that other fields remain same, valid when, required is equal to no, visibility, status, legal entity, cascade, inactivated by allow ordering, etc. So, and then in this security column, you can see this is again a secured object and the permission category is MDF foundation objects. We will come to that, these categories in the RBP section. But here you just remember it, these are secured objects and this is the category which is maintained for the foundation object, for the generic object. Okay, so these are the different objects which we have maintained it. Now let us create our own object. In order to create our own object, I have defined a simple object which is like uniform, and this will have three fields. Do you need a uniform, which is a boolean field, yes or no. Size, which is a text field, and color, blue, gray and white, which will be a pick list field. So now let's maintain this custom object here. To create a custom object, you will go to configure object definition. In a create new, you will say object definition, and here I will give a code as uniform, effective dating as, oh, there is this already exists, so I will select some other code, uniform 1, effective dating as basic. So if you see, let us check this one. So right now there are no fields except external code and external name. As I select this effective dating from basic, it will give me this warning message, confirmation that as you have changed the effective dating to basic, it will result in addition and deletion of system provided mandatory fields. I will say yes, and you can see it will. So when you save this from here, I just saved this object, and you can see a lot of other fields are created. So these all fields are MDF fields which are created by just selecting the basic here. Okay, now I will say API visibility. I don't think uniform should be available to API, so I'm making it not visible. And then I don't need any workflows on this, so no, I'm not selecting anything here. In the external code field, I want this object to be available to the user, so I'm selecting this is as a user. External name, I don't need this field. Effective start date, I need it, and then I will define my own fields. So the first field was do you need a uniform, so I will say uniform here, and I will say string, and I will say here boolean. Instead of string, it will be a boolean field. Where is boolean? Boolean. And then in the label I will say do you need a uniform. Do you need a uniform? Then the second field is size, so I will remain it as text field, as string field. So I will just define the label here as size. And third field which we have to define is a pick list field, and which is color, COLOR, color. I will define a pick list. Okay, so to define a pick list, where should I go? I should go to the pick list center. So I am in pick list center. I will define a new pick list called color, color, and I will define it from okay, and then save it, and then I will define the pick list value here. The pick list value is say white, label is white, external code is white, create, then I will define it as gray, create, and then I will define it as maybe blue, 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 and blue, and then create. And so this is the pick list values which are defined for pick list called color. So I will just copy this name and I will go to the other window, and in this one, in the parent value source, I will define color here. I will say done. In the secured category, I am defining a permission category. So I will define it under say miscellaneous permissions, and I will save this object. So this is how a particular object is created. So now I will review this object under manage data. So I will go to manage data. So right now I have defined this as a permission category as since we have not covered the RVPs. So I will just select this as no, and I will just make it as no selection. This is just to make it whenever you define a MDF object, you should always make it secure it as a standard practice. But right now we have not covered the RVP, so I'm just making it as no.